here, this is the table in the middle of the classroom where both students and teachers can use. This design was inspired by the Apple Store, actually, where where people can put their MacBooks on these big desks and work in a whole group, so they feel like they're in a little huddle. Yeah, a little huddle. And so the teacher can walk around this block and see what each student is doing, and if he or she needs to sit down, they have the choice to do so. This interesting thing here is the storage cabinet. Unlike ordinary classrooms where we have a big storage cabinet that is wasted, it's just sitting there and the supplies are stuffed inside and nobody uses the stuff. I notice in the upper school particularly that because of our schedules, that everyone has their own unique schedule, and that no one is going to the same classes every single day, so that students are bringing along their own stuff and they're not leaving anything behind. And teachers don't necessarily have their own station classrooms. For example, someone like Ms. Urquhart, she doesn't have her own classroom. So she would bring her materials to class. And so any necessary materials needed for the class would be stored here. It is stored under the ground, so this cabinet is underground, and I've learned that most of the ceilings at the school are fake ceilings, meaning that the ceiling at the floor below is actually lower than what it's supposed to be, so there's this little thin gap in between the floor of let's say the floor of the 5th floor and the ceiling of the 4th floor. There's a little gap in between, and so I can use this little gap in between and put storage materials so that we can eliminate the storage cabinet as well. As you can see, this thing here, this little thing here, that's the cover and the floor. So this thing is the cover of this storage cabinet, and it's also the floor when you put it down. When you close the storage cabinet, it becomes the floor where students will be standing on. And so these will be along the bottom of the computer bar. So it's convenient for students and teachers to access, to get the materials they need. Also, at this view, you can see the French window really well, and this doesn't limit where students or teachers want to write on. So they can write even at the very bottom near the floor. Yeah, and ignore the window and entrance from the hallway signs. I don't know why this is doing it, but it's not going away. Well, now you have a better view of the computer bar. And so here we have 2 MacBooks, and this is the computer bar, and here is a little storage place where students can put their books and any materials they need but isn't but they don't want to have on the tabletop. So this idea was partly inspired by the tables at sushi restaurants, at the sushi go around thing, where it keeps going around and around and around, and also from the desks at school. Both both inspirations have this hollow space in between where materials can be stored and elevated from the floor, from the ground, and eliminating any unnecessary furniture needed in this design. And here is a view from the outside, from the window. So this would be the view coming from not Victoria Harbor, Aberdeen Harbor. So as you can see, here is that Apple Store inspired block where students can work on. Here is the MacBook bar along the walls of this design. I don't know why SketchUp is doing this, but these walls are actually white. I think it's because of shadow. So anyways, here is the storage cabinet. Along the sides, here are the storage cabinets where students can just open it and either put their bags in empty cabinets or get any materials needed. And also, you can see that this design is appropriate for a class of 20 plus students. I say 20 plus because the placement of the MacBooks is just the estimation of how far each student would stand, because each student will stand separate from, will stand at a different width, separating you from each other. So some would stand closer and some would stand farther. So this is just an estimation, but in this estimation, this simulation of this classroom is able to hold 24 people. So if you count the number of laptops, there are 24 laptops here along the MacBook bar, and that excludes this Apple Store block where maybe a few more students can come around, and so making that maybe 20, 25, 26. That would work too. Oh no, maybe 28, 29. That would work too. And here is the glass sliding doors from the outside. So if you would want to open the doors, it would open from the outside, so it wouldn't the sliding doors will be on the outside, so it wouldn't crash into these MacBook bars at the side here. And it is glass, so people from the outside can see what's going on in the inside because of this unique design, unique thought of this French window and this Apple Store feel classroom. And here is the bird's eye view of my design. And finally, these two words come into use. This side is the window from the view from Aberdeen Harbor, and this is the entrance from the hallway. So students will walk in here, and then turn, and they will slide open these doors, and they would come in and place their MacBooks here and stand and do whatever the teacher tells them to do. And so if the teacher would tell them to gather up, they would come all the way around and surround this block here, and maybe if they need to brainstorm things, they can write all over this board. They're not limited to a small amount of space. They have this big window where they can work with. This is really one wall that they can write with. Maybe they can put their bags in here if these are left empty, and then get their materials here, like books and pencils and notebooks, etc. So there are dimensions marked, but because of the angle you can't see it. Here you can see a bit better. There's one there, and there's one there too. There's one hiding there. And I think at this view you could see more. Yeah, at this angle you could see more of the dimensions that I wrote down. Anyways, this is my design that I have come up with for this design cycle project. This aims for a modern thought using technology and creativity, and without the feeling of being cramped. When I was doing this design, I focused around the point of not being cramped, because when I'm working with this small amount of space, it really isn't realistic to put 26 chairs, 26 benches all in one room. It just wouldn't make sense. However, free and uncramped it may seem on the design, it may come out as very cramped. So I wouldn't recommend, well, not recommend, but my own personal view would be that eliminating as much furniture as possible would be the solution of creating a classroom for this many people, up to 20 plus.